What we got here is a Kompaq Evo D31 VM. This was made in about 2002, and it was just taken out of service last week. Yes, it's been running and in constant use for that long. Actually, there might be a production date in here somewhere, but anyway, this was used as a web server for a very, very specific application, and it's been running reliably for so long. I think this was made in about 2000 and maybe 2002, maybe 03. Anyway, oh wait, here we go. Production date. May 4th, 2003. So yeah, it's been in use for nearly 14 years. Anyway, it's got, check this out. Check out these caps. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That one's not like, it's 8 leaking, and 9. That one's not quite leaking yet. And what do we have over here? Yeah, so like 9, oh, 10 caps that are, 9 caps that are leaking, 10 caps that are failing total. And you can see some electrolyte spilled all over this transistor here. Is that a transistor? I think it might be. But anyway, so this thing's in bad shape. Nearly 14 years old. It was made when I graduated high school. So you've had a few of these in our enterprise, and some of them have had electrolyte that actually spilled onto the network interface. This one hasn't had that happen, but I've had a few of these where the electrolyte literally was pooling on the network interface and the machines were still running. So I hooked this thing up to a monitor and a keyboard and mouse, and we're going to see what it does. I'm going to fire it up. This will be the worst computer I think I have ever seen in terms of overall condition and age, all factored together. This thing is it's a Pentium 4 class machine. It's got the original 256 megabytes of RAM installed. It's got two 20 gigabyte MaxStore hard drives. These are the MaxStore, these are the thin drives that they were making back in the day. They're not a full 3.5 inch height. They're kind of like a, what, 3/4 height, I think they call those. So let's plug it into power. I don't even know what the power supply looks like inside, but I can imagine this was made during capacitor gate. It's probably got a few bad caps in the PSU as well. So let's see if it fires up. Turn this monitor on. Set to automatically fire. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. It's actually running. I don't believe it. I just heard some hard drives spin up. It's running I believe it's running some flavor of Linux. Is it the Lilo boot? Oh, there it goes. Keyboard. Key table read checksum error. Okay. Let's see. It is running, and check out this fan. 14 years of constant use, and it still rolls nicely. It's amazing. So there's something wrong with the these hard drives. I'll have to work on getting there's some data on one of these drives that we need to extract, so I'm going to have to pull the drives out and maybe do some data recovery on it, but I'm not too worried about it. Can't believe this thing is still, it still actually would run. I mean, if I were to try to boot it off a Windows CD or something, or Linux Live CD, it would probably run. Might even pass diagnostics. Smart hard drive detects imminent failure. No surprises there. Unbelievable. That's crazy. This thing still runs. It's a Pentium 4, 2400 megahertz, D310V, 256 megs of RAM. Amazing. Amazing. They're 41 gig max stores. 40 gig. Just going to do a drive test. Wonder how that goes. But you've seen it here. This thing has almost every cap is bad, and it still boots up and it still runs. Obviously, one of the drives is probably failing, which is why we can't test failed. Drive replacement necessary. Recommended. Let's try the other drive. Let's see if that goes anywhere. I just heard it spin up. F10 to continue. Here we go. Hope that data wasn't important. It doesn't even smell like anything's burning up or anything. Check that out. Look at these caps. I mean, they are donezo. I mean, it's amazing. I've got another one over there. Let's take a look at that one and see what it does, what it looks like. Test failed. You know, it's possible that the IDE controller could be affected by the bad caps, which could be causing test failures. But let's go get the other one and see if it works. It's got the same issue. So this one here, now all these Kompaq Evos, we got these used when we were opening up a new building back in 2007. So we got them used back in 2007. And they came from a manufacturing company that was closing their shop nearby. And this one I put into service originally as an HVAC and lighting system control unit for one of our major buildings. Back then it was fitted with a new hard drive. I upgraded the RAM from the stock configuration, and I did a few other things to it to kind of get some more use out of it. But this was used to control the lighting, heating, and air conditioning, and some of the security system was also controlled by this. We had no money for equipment. For whatever reason, that wasn't budgeted for, so we had to scramble. And that's where these freebies came from. They were donated for a tax write-off as used equipment. But this one I refurbished myself back in, would have been 2007 or 2008. And it had been in use up until about 3 years ago when I replaced this machine with a brand new one. And that one's now in need of some maintenance. But anyway. This one has a couple of bad caps. There's one here, 1, 2, I see 2 bad ones. Okay, so we have 2 confirmed that have blown their tops. I've got one here that's domed, another dome that's a couple more. What else do we have? These are all good. These all look pretty good. This is an MSI motherboard. Kompaq had used MSI boards for a short period of time. The MS6541 is what this is. And I believe it's flashed with a custom Kompaq ROM or BIOS. So here we go. Let's fire it up. This one, hard drive spun up. So it's been 3 years for this one, I think. 3 years since it was last used. See what it does. It's made actually boot right into Windows. I kept it around without disposing of it for archival purposes, as it was still a good running system that can maintain our heating and lighting systems when needed if the new one blew up. But that never materialized. It's running XP. This one actually looks pretty promising. It's running pretty good. Yep, boots right into Windows, exactly as it's supposed to. So, let me just make sure there's no, yeah, got an admin account there. Let's see if my this keyboard didn't detect yet. Not entirely. I'm gonna numlock, but no input. Anyway, so it actually runs. That's a bit surprising. Looks like nothing is working. This, it still has to detect that it's got USB input devices, but it's not frozen. Anyway, thank you all for watching. These are some of the worst machines I've ever seen in my life, which I guess says a lot about the quality of what I usually work with. It's usually pretty good. There you go.